Hello dear students, this is Vishal Sir from Ikra High School. Today we are going to study chapter 9 from standard 9th NCERT syllabus. The topic of our chapter would be force and laws of motion. Let's read the lesson to understand it better. In the previous chapter we described the motion of an object along a straight line in terms of its position, velocity and acceleration. We saw that such a motion can be uniform or non-uniform. We have not yet discovered what causes the motion. Why does the speed of an object change with time? Do all the motion require a cause? If so, what is the nature of this cause? In this chapter, we shall make an attempt to quench all such curiosities. For many centuries, the problem of motion and its cause has puzzled scientists and philosophers. A ball on the ground, when given a small hit, does not move forever. Such observation suggests that rest is the natural state of an object. This remained the belief until Galileo Galilei and Isaac Newton developed an entirely different approach to understand motion. So dear students, as you know that when you roll your object, it stops after going to some distance after some time. That means we can say that everything what we have observed through our practical experiments can say that everything wants to be at rest. They don't want to be in motion or they cannot be in motion. If you give a little push also, after a little push, they will travel a certain distance, but after that they will become stationary. This shows that mostly all the objects remain at rest, and that means it is the natural state of an object. But this was not true, or this was not accepted by Galileo Galilei and Isaac Newton. How did that prove that not every object want to be at rest? Certain objects, when given a small momentum also, keeps on moving. Let's further read. In our everyday life, we observe that some effort is required to put a stationary object into motion or to stop the moving object. We ordinarily experience this as a muscular effort and say that we must push or hit or pull on an object to change its state of motion. The concept of force is based on this push, hit or pull. So how can we describe what does an object need to remain itself in motion? So the three things that we come to know is push, hit or pull. If you want any object to remain in motion, then you should certainly push it, hit it or pull it. Let us now ponder about force. What is it? In fact, no one has seen, tasted or felt a force. However, we always see or feel the effect of force. So, according to the physics, force cannot be seen or cannot be felt. Its effect can be felt. It can only be explained by describing what happens when a force is applied on an object. Pushing, hitting and pulling of object are all ways of bringing object in motion. They move because we make a force act on them. From our studies in earlier classes, you are also familiar with the fact that a force can be used to change the magnitude of the velocity of an object, that is, to make the object move faster or slower, or to change its direction of motion. We also know that force can change the shape and size of the object. So dear students, in this paragraph we learned about force. What is force? Force is nothing but the push, hit or pull. Can you feel the force? No, you can feel the effect of the force. So how can the effect of the force be felt? By pushing, hitting or pulling of the object. What happens when force is applied to the object? Forces can change the magnitude of the velocity of the object. It can also change the direction of the motion. It can also change the shape and the size of the object. So the effect of force has three different effects on the object that the force is felt. The types of forces: balanced and unbalanced force. Here you can see on the table wooden box is there and two strings are tied to it, one on the X side and one on the Y side. If you apply the same force from X and Y, the box is not going to move on either side. So when this happens, that you can say then the X and Y has applied a balanced force. and when there is a balance force, there will be no effect on the box. This happens in the same condition as you keep things on the table. When you keep the book on a table, it does not fall down, but it remains on the table. Why? Because there is a balance force between the force of the book, that is towards downwards, also the force applied due to the table. And when there is a balance force, the object does not move from its position. But what happens when you apply greater force from x and lesser force at y? The box will certainly move on x side. That means the unbalanced force is applied on the box. So there are two types of forces, balanced and unbalanced force. If the block is pulled from both the sides with equal force, the block will not move. Such forces are called balanced force and do not change the state of rest or of motion of an object. That means when an object is in motion and if balanced force is applied on it, it will remain in motion. There will be no effect of force on it. But if an unbalanced force is applied, that is like this, a situation in which two opposite forces of different magnitude pull the block, in this case the block would begin to move in the direction with the greater force. Thus the two forces are not balanced and the unbalanced force acts in the direction of the block moves. This suggests that unbalanced force acting on an object brings it in motion. Here is another example where you can see two children pushing the box. The box can be pushed to one direction only if they create a situation of unbalanced force. But what happens if there is a balanced force? That means the box tries to remain at the position and the children apply the same force that the box has, then the box will not move from that position. In the first condition, it shows they are having a balanced force. The box is not going to move. In the second condition, they may apply a little greater force and they may push the box on one side. That shows they have created an unbalanced force. The force applied by the children is greater than the force applied by the box. That's why the box will move on one side. So there are two conditions that explained us about unbalanced and balanced force. What happens when some children try to push a box on a rough floor? If they push the box with a small force, the box does not move because of friction acting in a direction opposite to the push. These friction force arise between two surfaces in contact. In this case, between the bottom of the box and the floor's rough surface. It balances the pushing force and therefore box does not move. So which two forces were acting to create a balanced force? The force because of the friction of the box, that is below with the ground, and the force applied by the children. That created a balanced force. So the children were not able to move the box to one side. In figure 9.4b, the children push the box harder, but the box still does not move. This is because friction force still balances the pushing force. If the children push the box harder, pushing force becomes bigger than the friction force. Then there is an unbalanced force. So the box starts moving. An object moves with uniform velocity when the forces acting on the object are balanced and there is no net external force on it. If an unbalanced force is applied on the object, there will be a change either in its speed or in the direction of the motion. Thus, to accelerate the motion of the object, an unbalanced force is required, and the change in its speed or in the direction of motion would continue as long as this unbalanced force is applied. However, if this force is removed completely, the object would continue to move with the velocity it has acquired till then. The first law of motion. Galileo deduced that objects move with constant speed when no force acts on them. He observed that when a marble rolls down an inclined plane, its velocity increases. The marble falls under the unbalanced force of gravity as it rolls down and attains a definite velocity by the time it reaches the bottom. Its velocity decreases when it climbs up, as shown in figure 9.5b, and 9.5c shows a marble resting on an ideal frictionless plane inclined on both sides. So here Galileo did an experiment. He kept two inclined surfaces in front of each other. From one surface he rolled down the marble, which rolled down with some velocity and started climbing to some extent on the other end side, which showed that, or which proved that, when an external force is applied on an object, the object may continuously move if it has a frictionless surface. Galileo argued that when the marble is released from left, it would roll down the slope and go up on the opposite side of the same height from which it was released. So what did Galileo say? Galileo said that if you roll down a marble from here, it would cover the same distance on the other inclined plane, because the energy the marble has is being due to the potential energy of the height of the box. If the inclination of the plane on both sides are equal, the marble will climb the same distance that it covered by rolling down. If the angle of inclination at the right side plane were gradually decreased, then the marble would travel further distances. So what happens? If you decrease the height on the right hand side, the marble would travel some more distance. How? Because the potential energy the marble has due to the height from this side will be carried over on the right hand side also. If the right side plane were ultimately made horizontal, that is, the slope is reduced to 0, that means there is no slope, it's a plane surface, the marble would continue to travel forever trying to reach the same height that it was released from. So Galileo came to a conclusion that if you apply an external force on an object which was at rest, the object would continuously move in one direction. Why? Because the external force that the marble which has been applied gives the marble an energy to travel infinitely in the direction until that external force effect is been reduced, and that won't be possible in a frictionless surface. The unbalanced force on the marble in this case are 0. It thus suggests that an unbalanced force is required to change the motion of the marble, but no net force is needed to sustain the uniform motion of the marble. So this is what been concluded by Galileo. In practical situation, it is difficult to achieve a zero unbalanced force. Why? Because we face friction force also. This is because the presence of frictional force acting opposite to the direction of the motion. Thus, in practice, the marble stops after traveling some distance. That means, in practical life, the marble will stop after traveling some distance. But in physics, if you think about a frictionless surface, it will keep on traveling. The effect of the frictional force may be minimized by using a smooth marble and a smooth plane and providing a lubricant on top of the planes. Now, these studies was done by Galileo, and he concluded this, that when an object is applied an unbalanced force in a frictionless plane, it will travel infinite distance. And that study was carried over by Newton. Newton further studied Galileo's idea on force and motion and presented 3 fundamental laws that govern the motion of the object. These 3 laws are known as Newton's law of motion. The first law of motion states as, this is what we are going to read, is the first law of motion. An object remains in the state of rest or of uniform motion in a straight line unless compelled to change that state by applied force. In other words, all objects resist a change in their state of motion. That means, object which is in motion will remain in motion, and object in rest will remain in rest unless and until an unbalanced force, external unbalanced force, is applied on it. All objects resist a change in their state of motion. In a qualitative way, the tendency of undisturbed object to stay at rest or to keep moving with the same velocity is called inertia. Inertia is the state of no change. When the object does not change its motion or its state of rest, it remains as it is unless and until an unbalanced force acts on it. That is called inertia. This is why the first law of motion is also known as the law of inertia. Certain experience that we come across while traveling in the motor car can be explained on the basis of the law of inertia. We tend to remain at rest with respect to the seat until the driver applies a braking force to stop the motor car. With the application of the brake, the car slows down, but our body tends to continue in the same state of motion because of inertia. A sudden application of brake may thus cause injury to us by impact or collision with panels in front. Safety belts are worn to prevent such accidents. Safety belt exert a force on our body to make the forward motion slower. Opposite experience is encountered when we are standing in a bus and the bus begins to move suddenly. Now, we tend to fall backward. This is because the sudden start of the bus brings motion of the bus as well as to our feet in contact with the floor of the bus. But the rest of the body opposes this motion because of inertia. So while you are traveling in a bus, your body is in one position and that position is called inertia. But as soon as the bus starts, your body tries to move backward because the bus has started moving in one direction, that is in the front direction. Your body tends to remain at rest due to inertia, and because of it you feel a backward push. The same happens when the bus applies brake. When the bus is in motion, your body is again in one part of inertia where it will remain in motion. But suddenly the brakes are applied and the bus stops, the body tends to remain in motion. So it moves in front of the bus. When the motor car makes a sharp turn at the high speed, we tend to get thrown out to one side. This can again be explained on the basis of the law of inertia. We tend to continue in our straight line motion when an unbalanced force is applied by the engine to change the direction of the motion of the motor car. We slip to one side of the seat due to the inertia of the body. The fact that the body will remain at rest unless acted upon by an unbalanced force can be illustrated through the following activities. So here are some activities. Activity 9.1 shows the coins remain at the same position though you strike with a striker. The striker will stand over there and it will move one coin on one side, but the other coins remain at the same position. They fall vertically on the table. In activity 9.2 also, the coin remains in inertia and you move the paper or the cardboard in one direction, the coin falls in the glass.